why don't we get rolling here? We're starting about 10 minutes before 7. That way, we'll give our speaker a full time, full hour. So this is a great turnout. So thanks for being here. It looks like it's an official start of winter today. So congratulations. Hopefully you won't run into ice or snow on the way home, but
It's snowing now.
your maintenance, what do you care, right? Okay, you got your plow truck and you're all set. Anyway, thanks for being here. Before we go around the table and just do some introductions, I want to recognize Doug Crosley here. Doug has been our tech guru, doing the Zooms, recordings. He also gets the letters out. He runs the website, etc. Doug spent decades as a teacher and has retired recently and is actually planning, as I understand it, to spend the winters down in Florida so he can fish year round. And so how about a big hand for Doug? Who's done it from then today. Thanks, Doug. We really appreciate it, Doug. So, and I understand you have an open invitation. Anybody wants to come and you'll put them up and take them fishing, right?
No.
And also, I want to thank Joel LaFleur. Joel has been mentoring with Doug, and Joel is going to be taking over for Doug on the whole tech stuff. So we appreciate it. Thank you, Joel. We are looking for a backup to Joel in case Joel does need to take off somewhere. So if someone has an interest and would be willing to do that, it would be greatly appreciated. So please talk to Joel or Doug. It's not that hard. Doug's going to continue to do, I think, the website and the communication. So it's really just running the technology at the meeting.
Yep.
Yeah. So you don't need to be the first person, but if you could be a backup and be trained, it would be great. So, hey, Will, good to see you, man. Yeah. You saw that big striper and you said, yeah, I'm coming.
Yeah.
Huh? All right, here's the guy. So, yeah. Anyway, thank you. Why don't we just start? Let's start with Doug and just kind of go around and who you are, where you're from. We got a great group here. And if you're here for the first time, too, thank you.
Doug Crosley, Washington. Red Beal, Union.
Bill Owens, Waldeboro.
Jerry Young, Lincolnville.
I'm Mark O'Donnell from Union. It's my first time here.
Super. Welcome, Mark. Nice
Thank
to have you with us, man.
I'm Mike Sear from Liberty.
First time, Mike?
No, I've been here for, I didn't much the last year.
Oh,
I got bit by a tick this summer and I'm just coming around.
good to have you back.
Hey, I'm Adam Snyder. I'm from Rockland and it's my first time here.
Super. Welcome. Welcome back. Yeah.
Jim Sebastian from Waterboro. This is my first time.
Wow. The word must have gone out about you. Fabulous, huh?
Steve Hirschberg, Union.
Yeah, Daily Campbell.
Christy Chapman Mitchell, Whitefield.
Christy's already been out on St. George, as you heard. Way to go, Christy.
I'm away from Swineville and first time here in First.
Super. Great.
Joe DeStefano, Hampton.
Hey, Joe.
Bruce 60, Appleton, my first time here. I would like never to you and by time to come.
You've been here before, but it's great to have you back.
Yeah, been to Maine sport.
Bruce was also one of the people who has donated a bunch of fly tying equipment to the chapter, which Patrick and we use when we do our education courses. So thank you for that.
Or Goss, Damages.
Dave Williams, your vice chairman outfit.
Betty Hampton.
Hey, Rob.
Thank you. Dick Shaw, Hampton.
Dave Pio, the bit down the street here, Buckford, my first.
Well, welcome.
Will Laidlaw game.
Yeah. Every time I see Will at the Y, he goes, hey, when's the next meeting? When's the next meeting? Avid fisherman. Super. Portland.
Terry Bowman, Camden.
Patrick Gallagher, Camden.
And Theo's our host. Again, thanks to Maine Sport. We really appreciate your hosting us. So how many of us are veterans? All right. Veterans Day. Thank you for your service. We really appreciate it. All right. I'm going to just go over a few things real quickly, and then I'll introduce Sawyer. Tim, you want to give us a brief update on the duck trap?
Yes, first of all, next, the summer meeting is gonna be all about the drought trap. Everything you ever wanted to know about gray dams. You're gonna get the answer. We're gonna go over conservation, past, present, and future, and fishing secrets. I'm feeling my guts out. Not all the people in the audience, I know have some secrets to spill maybe too. But if you ever call fish, well, you're gonna look at the pictures and you're gonna decide, it's gonna be an audiovisual treat, we're gonna see here. Is that, what I wanna say is that we did apply, thanks to Carmen's, penmanship and word crafting on our grant for the Troutman and Embrace Stream. We were awarded $4,000, and it's gonna help us to continue our eDNA project for 2026 and 2027. Actually, our grant was ranked #2 in the nation for the year. So we're very happy with it. And we're gonna, so also when you come next meeting, think of your schedule in the next spring, because we're gonna need some volunteers, some people here already volunteered, I recognize them, they were last year, they survived, they made it through, so they can tell you it's not that bad, so we'll need some help, that's it. Come to the next meeting.
Well, thank you, Tim, again, for leading the conservation efforts there. We're beginning to get some national recognition for our work on the duck trap river, wild Atlantic salmon and wild native brook trout. So it's fabulous. It's a little river, but it's mighty. So, super. Laguna Creek River dam removal. We've had some speakers here in the past. Just a quick update that I put in the newsletter, but for those of you who didn't read it, they are expecting to hear by the end of the month, I think, whether they got the grant or not to do the dam removal. They believe that if they get it, and it's not government funded, by the way, so they're optimistic that it won't be affected too much by the current shutdown or some of the stuff that's happening down in Washington. We have agreement, I think, with 2 other dam owners upstream to have somebody take the dams out. Leave them the liability. So National Resources or National Fish and Wildlife Foundation, which has the money, has made 2 site visits in Laguna Cook. So that's a show we hope of interest. And you've probably heard just fabulous great news from Maine that we've been fighting for a long time to remove the 4 lower dams on the Kennebec River that are blocking passage. Finally, after a long haul and a lot of work by TU and a lot of other partners, there's an agreement that the Nature Conservancy will buy out the 4 dams from Brookfield, which owns them and has been terrible at working with the fishery. And once that happens, the plan is to remove the dams and free up a whole lower section of the river for sea run fish, etc. Tim?
I just want to let everybody know that it wasn't the $120 million check that the Nature Conservancy wrote that did this. It was a testimony of myself and Lloyd. I'm sure that's what happened. It wasn't happened. It wasn't that $120 million check.
Funny, I don't even remember testifying, but anyway, that's fabulous news. Maine is one of the leaders in the country at taking dams out. If you remember, it was what, 20 years ago, they took the Edwards Dam out in Augusta. That was one of the first ever. And that continues. And Trout Unlimited, of which we are one of the local chapters, as you know, but Trout Unlimited at the state council and at the national level has been instrumental in working with the Kennebec Coalition to make this happen. People like Steve Hines and Steve Brooks and others. So it's fabulous work. It's really good stuff. I think I put a couple references in. You can get more information on that if you want. National Resource Council of Maine has a great update there too. Steve, do you want to update folks at all on Grand Lake Stream?
Sure, we have May 16th and 17th. Weekend trip to Grand Lake Stream, and Weatherby's Lodge have offered us a special rate in both the facilities there that have kitchens. And so 5 rods each there, and those facilities have kitchens, fully equipped. And also he's offered 4 slots in another cabin. So we're actually full at 14, and I'm trying to get in from Jeff McAvoy, so we can have additional rods available for that weekend trip. And for those who have signed up that are in, I just say start time. Like Hendrickson's and Dark Hendricks, 16 to 20. Hopefully we'll have a big trip then. Details to follow.
And also, if you haven't signed up yet, Steve does have a wait list, so.
Here's the wait list, and I'm happy
Yeah.
to pass around the clip.
The great trust team, if you haven't ever fished Grand Lake Stream, it's one of the best landlocked salmon fisheries in the country. It's fabulous. And you don't think, well, there'll be enough people and I can fish. Thank you for putting that together, Steve. Yeah. Okay, there's some brochures back here. Track camp is going to be June 14th.
The only,
Yeah.
but she loved it. And she's now excited for reasons, but. She is now set forward some fishing.
It's for kids, I think it's 13 to 17 years old. It's 4 days. It's $800, which is about 2/3 of the actual cost, but the tuition's $800. We don't turn anybody away for inability to pay though. Our chapter has the ability to help people with scholarships. So please, we get at least 2 slots. I'd love to be able to have 3 or 4 people from our chapter go. I know Eric Shank, who's a friend of mine and a friend of Bruce's, he sent his son last year. John's daughter, Willow, went a number of years ago and has been very active as an alum. So there's brochures there. If you happen to know of anybody who might be interested, please let us know. It's fabulous. They get equipment, they get one-on-one mentoring, they catch fish, they learn about insects. It's just great. I know Dan and other people had volunteered there. It's fabulous. And just lastly, I think I mentioned this last time, if you have equipment that you're no longer using, it's surplus, or I have a couple of friends that can't tie anymore because they've got arthritis in their hands, whatever. They've donated a lot of equipment to the chapter, and that's really helpful. Rods, reels, waders that don't leak too badly, any kind of gear, fly tying materials is great. We either give them to needy kids, we use them for Patrick's education, or periodically we'll have a fishing yard sale, and we've done a couple of them here, and we make money to pour into the duck trap and our other conservation stuff. So if you have any interest in that, please let me know. Or if anybody ever comes up to you and say, hey, you're a fisherman, aren't you, David? I had this happen in Halifax last week. A woman came up to me whose husband died a while ago, and she said, hey, Roy, I still got a lot of David's stuff. What do I do with it? I said, I'm happy to go over and talk to you. If you want to sell it, I can tell you what's decent or not and where websites to go to. But if you also want to donate, you can donate to our chapter that goes to Worthy Cause. So don't hesitate on that, if you would. It's not too ghoulish, really. Any questions about anything? All right, you didn't come here to hear me. So, this is Patrick. No, I'm sorry, Sawyer Deroche, that's Patrick. Sawyer Deroche. We met Sawyer, Patrick and I did up at Belfast High School several months ago, and we were teaching some kids how to fly cast and just got really interested. He has a great background. His dad has been one of the go-to people up on the Allagash. He has fished there, and we had dinner with him, and he is a real trout buff, even though he works. But I say that in all good humor. Anyway, I think you're going to have a lot of fun listening to Sawyer. Sawyer, thanks for being here. We appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me. This is really exciting for me. I am Sawyer. I am a fishing guide. I got my guide's license last June early. I also work for JMG, Jobs for Maine grads. If any of you have worked in any high schools in Maine, you probably know what that is. That's my full-time job. I wish I could guide full-time. It's hard to do in Maine. It's hard to do anywhere. And yes, I'm a bit of a trout bum. I'm just a fishing bum in general. I just love to be on the water. Yeah, so I'll just hop right into it. Fly fishing in Maine, right? They asked me to speak on the Allagash. I'll just say right off the bat, I'm not an expert on the Allagash. My dad was a guide, is a guide. Doesn't guide in the Allagash anymore, but he did for years when I was growing up. I was in a canoe when I was 6 years old doing the Allagash, which was really awesome. And I recognize the opportunity that is, because a lot of people never go, and a lot of people really want to go, but they never have a chance. And I have fished the Allagash a lot, not as much as I would have liked to so far. Hopefully I am able to get up there more. Just wanted to say it off the bat, but I can speak to some parts of the Allagash. Terry, you know Mike, there's Mike right there with a shad. Mike Tumanero, maybe some of you know him. He's involved with the Maine Guides Association, but he's an upland bird guy. So if you ever are interested in upland birds, I'd gladly connect you with him. All right.
All right, that's,
This one?
it will work. Give me a second. All right, try it. There we go.
Yeah, so just a little bit about me again. I'm 25, I work for JMG. Soccer was a huge part of my life for a long time. I played in college and afterward. I am married. My wife and I got married early May last year, which was awesome. And my goals and dreams, you know, I live in Waterville, and I grew up in Fairfield, Waterville area. This is a little bit different down here, certainly. But the fishing really from, I would say, Skowhegan and north on the Kennebec is really pretty phenomenal. And it also is very good from Skowhegan through, you know, pretty much to the coast. If anybody striper fishes on the Kennebec, then you know. I would love to see Central Maine become a hub of fly fisher people, just fishing people in general. I think it has the potential. Roy mentioned the 4 dams, right? That there's a lot of varying views on it. I know there's a lot of guys around me in Central Maine who are very involved with Sappy and Hootamaki, the 2 mills that are on the Kennebec, that are really upset about it, and they don't see it as a good thing. So I think as more time elapses and more details come out about what they're going to be doing, hopefully some of those feelings subside and there's no anger, because I do think it's a good thing. And I foresee with the removal of those dams, I mean, that stretch of river will be world class for shad, for stripers. I think there could be a resident striper population with those 4 dams. I don't know that. I'm not a biologist, but herring too, right? Where the herring are, stripers are going to be. And for brown trout as well, for those of you who, you know, fished Shawmut Dam before the brown trout fishery really kind of tanked, I think that could potentially come back too, which is awesome. Yeah, a few pictures. This is a rainbow I caught the other day. That was a nice fish. This is the Allagash. This little plug there, fighting striper. That's right in Waterville. I do have a fly craft. Maybe some of you do. That's what I prefer to guide out of. I also think guiding out of a canoe can be really fun at times. It's a little more intimate. You're closer to the water. You're able to get into places that you just can't with a raft sometimes. Yeah, move on. Oh, move. Yeah, I just wanted to ask this right off the bat. You know, why do we fish? We love it, yeah. But what is that desire rooted in? Significant nostalgic memories for me. I knew my dad liked to fish, so I wanted to fish. That was really where it started. A love of nature and all of its grandeur. The tug is the drug. That's a big thing for me and a lot of my friends. We just can't get enough of it. I think it connects us. That's a huge part of it for me. So, you know, I would pose the question and just consider it as I talk at you guys. And please, if you have questions or comments about anything I'm talking about, just go ahead and jut in. I don't mind. I don't want it to feel like I'm yapping at you guys for an hour. I would love to have this be interactive. Everyone's different, like a lot of the guys who are upset about the dams that I've been talking to. But we can find similar ground to stand on together because we all love to fish. And we all care about our state, and we care about the river and the waters. Many of us would probably be better fishermen if we did not spend so much time watching and waiting for the world to become perfect. That's from the book. A lot of people have seen the movie and read the book. I love that quote. There have been many times when I've been like standing on the bank, kind of watching and being like, maybe this is hatching. I'm looking under rocks, whatever. or I'm waiting to see a striper bust before I cast. And this quote always reminds me, like, what am I doing? I should just cast. I should just fish, right? So we'll start in the Allagash, right? We'll work our way south. I think that makes the most sense. How many people have done the Allagash? Okay. Have you guys did you guys do the whole river, start in the lakes? Okay. Which part did you do?
Started, I think it's Chamberlain, which is the first.
Yeah. Chamberlain, this
I've
is,
paddled it 3 times over the years and we
Okay.
ended up at the junction of the St. Joe.
awesome. Yep. So for those of you who have no idea, you've heard of it. This right here, this is actually Chamberlain, but this is Telos right here. This is just a image of Google Earth. If you go down here this way, that's the Telos cut is down there, which you can canoe and it can be a little bit sketchy. I've done it. And if you go that way, you'll hit Webster and Webster Brook. Webster Brook connects over to Grand Lake Matagamon and kind of the Baxter side over there. It's an awesome trip. I've also done Webster. I recommend it. Make sure you know kind of what you're doing in a canoe because it can be pretty rough. I did flip with I had a camper in front of my boat, so that was a fun day. What'd you say?
That's not a natural river.
No, the Telos cut. Yeah, that's you're right. They made it for logging. Yeah, they cut it. And so if you go north, right, this is Chamberlain. People call this the arm of Chamberlain. The bridge is kind of down here. You can't see it. Go up. There's a portage. You can go through right here into Eagle Lake. That's what this is. You can go all the way up Eagle, right? They call this round pond. Technically, there's a bunch of round ponds, as we all know. But then you go over here. This is Churchill, and all the way up here, they call this little lake right here Heron, but it's still Churchill. And this is where Churchill Dam is. That's where the chief ranger lives, the superintendent. There's a museum there. And obviously, there's campsites all along here. Little cool fact right here. This area right here on Eagle Lake, there's a campsite right here, if I can not shake so much, called Ziegler. And there's a wicked deep hole in the middle right here. And if you can get down to them, there are, I guarantee, lake trout, big lakers in the bottom right there. This is Allagash Lake over here. This connects through Allagash Stream, which goes from this tip of Allagash Lake down into Chamberlain. The Allagash Lake is sort of separate, right? You could start in Allagash Lake and you can canoe down. You have to portage around Little Allagash Falls, then you can get into Chamberlain, but you couldn't really start down here and go up. So over here, we're going to drag this over here. So down here, imagine the tip of that is right here. The river goes into here. This is Omsaskis Lake, and it goes in a long lake. And then this is the Allagash River right here. This is another round pond. This is kind of the round pond on the Allagash. Goes all the way up, and then you hit Allagash, right? The town of Allagash, and that runs into the St. John. If you haven't done the trip, you can do it all. I think I've done it quite a few times. If you really want to do it and enjoy it and do the lakes and do the river, give yourself 8 or 9 or 10 days. Just commit to it and take your time. You can do, a lot of people do this. They'll start up here. This is where the river starts, right? Churchill Dam, and they'll just do the river. And you can do that in 5 days. It's a little quick. You're getting up in the morning, you're canoeing many miles a day, but you can do it. Yeah, so Allagash brook trout. This was this summer. I was able to go up for a week. Just all native. I did want to make a little comment. So my dad, I don't mind saying this. He works in the Allagash. He works for the state, and he's been able to let me know that there are fishery biologists right now doing a survey on 19 tributaries of the Allagash River. And what they're doing is they're getting a baseline for water temperatures because they've never done it before. So they don't really know how cold the river stays, but also all of the various streams that go off of it. I'm not partaking in that at all. That's really the extent of my knowledge on it because it's still relatively new. But they knew I was fishing up there this summer and they knew I had gotten into some trout. So they actually reached out to me and said, hey, where were you catching these trout? Because it was in August. It was not a good time of year. And I did have to bushwhack a little bit and get into some streams to find them. But this is you can see how big my hand is. Not a very big trout. This is on the lake. This is a much bigger trout. This is my wife. Got her on a little native brookie, which was cool. another trout. This is the brook, one of the brooks I was on. You can kind of see it's not ideal for fly fishing at all. I mean, I was climbing, see this? I mean, this was nothing. I had to go through a lot worse than that. So this is a cool picture. This is trout stacked up in a hole. Any of us who are trout bums would see this and be like, oh my God, this is the best day of my life. Because I'm only 25, but I fish a lot and I have not seen this ever, really. This is one of the first times and only times I've ever seen native trout just stacked up in a hole like this. And if you've seen it, I mean, it happens, but this is what they do in the summer. When it's August and it's really hot, they're not going to be feeding like we want them to in September, October, and November, and even the spring. So when I was walking up this brook and I kind of came upon this, you can imagine how excited I was, but also just knowing that, okay, I'm not losing my mind. There are trout in the Allagash. You just have to find them, and it does take work and it takes time. This hole though was really cold, and these fish get no pressure, right? So I did put a little image of it's just a little red copper john, whatever, that I tied. I like the orange bead heads. I for whatever reason, I find that brook trout, especially the less pressured native ones, they like those a lot. But anything, I used a little black woolly bugger, whatever, it didn't matter. These fish were super eager to feed. That was a really cool day. This is on Churchill Brook. So off of Churchill Lake, you can find on a map. Pretty easy to find. Yeah, so this is just more images of Churchill Brook. This is farther up. This is a different angle of those trout. You can kind of see them, not super good lighting. And this was on Eagle Lake. If you go this way, past where those people are walking, some of my friends, Russell Stream is that way, which is right here. Russell Stream was another water I walked. I paddled as far as I could. It kind of got to the point where I couldn't, but right in the middle of August, it was just full of trout. It was like, I paddled in, saw a moose, which was really cool, and a calf, and they were hanging out. They went off into the woods, and I saw a fish rise. And a lot of times in the summer up north and really throughout the state, see a fish rise in August, and I immediately am thinking to myself, it's a chub, it's a chub, it's a fall fish, which is fine. In dire circumstances, when I'm feeling the need, I will be fine with catching a chub. It's okay. Side note, they're really kind of a fun fish. I know we hate on them a lot, but if you've caught like a 15-inch chub, they rip, they fight. I paddled up this, saw a fish rise. It was a trout. It was just full. It was awesome. It's like every the fish were where they should have been for once, right? They were under the trees. They were up in the banks. They were just full. The biggest one I caught in Russell Stream was probably 12 inches. They're not huge, but they're beautiful and they're native. And it's awesome. The biologists, I don't know if this is 100% accurate. This is what they said. The Allagash is one of the, if not the, really last stronghold for native brook trout anywhere in the world. I know that there are a lot of trout in Labrador, and it's very famous for that. But the reason they're doing this research is because it's so important. And as Mainers, we know they do a ton of stocking, right? You guys were just talking about stocking of the St. George. I've been doing a bunch of fishing recently in the Mount Vernon area, and they stock lakes and they stock the Belgrades, and it's been awesome and I love it. And stocked fish are great. I have no hate to stocked fish, but just knowing that we have this in our state is so special. I'll move on. Just more pictures of the Allagash. This is the top of Allagash Mountain, which is on Allagash Lake. If you're ever staying on Allagash Lake, I would highly encourage you to hike it. It's not a long hike. I think it's 0.6 miles to the summit. It's pretty steep. But you get up there. We sunrised it. I used to work for Kiev Wavis Education. Some of you might know Camp Kiev, Camp Wavis, especially if you guys are Mid-Coast people. So they're pretty involved with the community. And so I did lead trips with kids. After I was done doing that, I was a tripping director. So I was kind of on the managerial side of things too. But this was when I was leading those trips, and what a special thing for those guys to experience, getting up there before light and seeing the sunrise come up. And this is when we came back down. That was our canoes. More Allagash pictures. This is actually at the bottom of Webster, but it's not technically part of the waterway, but close enough. Wild blueberries, that was on Allagash Mountain. That was that same morning. A lot of us have read Walden probably. I went to the woods because I wish to live deliberately to front only the essential facts of life and see if I could not learn what it had to teach, and not, when I came to die, discover that I had not lived. For me, I think this is why I fish a lot, which is very sentimental and philosophical. And sometimes we just go out because we want to catch a fish, and that's great too. But this is something that means a lot to me. In college, I studied writing. This is my favorite author. So we're moving south now.
Sort of before you go.
Yeah.
If someone hasn't fished the Allagash and wanted to have some of these experiences, how do they go about
You can get in touch with me. That would work. But yeah, it's a great question. I would say time of year is everything. Don't go in August. That was just what I had available with work. It's what I could do. And I found some fish, but it was hard work. May, right after ice out, is awesome. And June, the Allagash River itself, this is interesting. I meant to say this earlier, is pretty warm. Not in the spring and fall, but you would think, oh, the Allagash River, I'll just go whenever in the summer and I'll slay trout. But no, it's actually a very warm river in most parts of it, and you can't just go. So time of year, making sure if you're going in the spring, I'm a big streamer guy. I love slinging streamers. I think I catch bigger fish with streamers. I don't know if it's just my imagination or not. And yeah, it's if you're gonna go up, it depends on what you want to do. Like, do you want to fish the lakes, or do you want to fish the river? Do you want to walk up streams? If it were me and I was going to tell somebody to go, I would say probably in the spring, go to Allagash Lake, camp out for a week and just explore, and bring a bunch of streamers. Go in late May or the first week of June, get ready to get eaten alive for a week, but you'll slay fish. You probably will have a good chance at catching Lakers too, because they're in on the shallows after the ice is out, which is a really cool experience on a fly rod. Not an experience we get to have often, because pretty much as soon as the warm weather hits, right, they're diving deep. Does that answer your question? We could talk about that for a long time.
Allagash Lake, not in the river.
I'm saying if you just want to fish.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you just want to fish, I would just go to Allagash Lake and just putz around, and yeah, you'll catch. It would not be crazy to say, catch 20, 30 fish a day. If you fished hard, you got up early and fished till dark. Yeah, maybe more, maybe less. Yeah. Answer your question? Yeah.
Thank you.
And if you guys have questions about that, you'll get my info at the end, but please, I'm happy to talk about it. And yeah.
I haven't done it for many years, but a great trip was down Allagash Stream into Allagash Lake, camp out, fish there for days, and then paddle back up. Is that still a viable trip?
Yeah, it depends on the year. I think they often beavers are kind of an issue on some of those roads getting to the stream. But yeah, the rangers are pretty good. They keep it on it. And also the winter affects it a lot. So if you're going in the spring, make sure you check with the rangers. Check at the TLOS checkpoint. Hey, how are the roads? Have you heard anything? They might have a good answer for you. They might not. Chamberlain Bridge Ranger probably will know. That's what I would say. But yeah, most likely. What you could also do is you could go into Allagash Lake, and then you could go out through through Allagash Stream, go around Little Allagash Falls, and then be done on Chamberlain. So, say again.
Ross Stream?
I've not. Ross Stream, no. Is that around there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sevensica?
No, that's good either.
That's right, something.
Yeah.
So we'll move south a little bit. Kennebec. So I guess it's not really super close to you guys, which is funny for me because it's in my backyard. Comes from the Eastern Abenaki word Kinnepec, which means long, quiet water. It is long. It's not very quiet. So I don't know what they were Maybe it was different before the dams, but I don't think so because the gorge was still there and it's a pretty loud river if you have been to Grand Falls and some of these other places. Or sorry, the Grand Falls is dead, but they merge. So Harris Station in Wyman. So this is what, if you guys have heard the Kennebec River Gorge, or just the gorge on the Kennebec, this is what they're referring to. How many have you guys have fished the gorge? Okay, cool. So quite a few. Has anybody fished right at Harris, right at the dam? Yeah, so this is right, if we were looking this way, right, the dam would be right here. The dam, I think, is actually a really cool piece of architecture, kind of an eyesore. This is a much prettier angle. This is the river during fish flow. For those of you who don't know, Harris is where they put in for whitewater rafting. So there's this huge set of stairs and there's a ramp, you slide down it. And that's what its primary focus is rafters, right? But for those who know, it is incredible fishing. It is awesome. And at fish flow, this is in the morning. It can be really good. This is probably in October. That's usually when I would go. But when they start to pump the water out for the rafters in October, because it closes October 31st at Harris, but that October 1st, October 31st, when they start to pump out the water for the rafters, it stirs up all the smelts and the salmon just go nuts. And it's awesome. I mean, really, really awesome. Yeah, this is all one day. This is like probably, this is actually this picture over here, this is fish flow, which is when the water was real low. I caught that guy. Wow, my hair was a lot longer. This is a few years ago. I caught this guy on a BWO. Not much was happening, so that was kind of a cool fish to catch. But you wade way out here, right over here, and you can fish that in the morning. But then when they start to pump the water out, you get more of these guys. So this is kind of a fun thing about Harris, and I don't know the answer. I've never caught a brookie. They're there. I know they're there, but I've only ever caught salmon this high up. I think it's because there's so many salmon that the trout are like, no, I'm good. I'm gonna let the salmon do their thing. Because it is ridiculous. You can go up there and if you hit it right and you hit the water right and the temp is right, you can have a really good day fishing. Just right at the dam. You don't have to go downriver. You can fish there. You got to be careful. It's kind of a sketchy place to fish, so you do have to be very sure of your footing. You don't want to fall into that water because it's so big. But it can be pretty epic. And then so this is a beautiful salmon. I just wanted to include this. This is as good as it gets, really. I would say for landlocked salmon, really anywhere in the state. If you fish the lakes and you're a guy that uses lead core and you troll, right? Yeah, I mean those guys catch some really big salmon. 6-7 pounds is not unheard of. But on the river, on the Kennebec, this is the biggest salmon as I have ever seen. Big hook jaw, right? Fall colors, big male. It's just awesome. That was right at Harris. That was that same year, maybe a couple weeks apart from each other. But that fall, I fished Harris pretty hard before I was with my wife and I had a lot more time on my hands. And we, I don't know. I mean, we caught a few hundred salmon in a few weekends, just like, I mean, but I was there from pretty much dawn to dark every day. Yeah. No, there's not. No.
Do you guide it here?
Yeah, I definitely can. It's yeah, I do. It would be something I would want to front load with somebody and just knowing, one, there might be other people there and it can get a little bit crowded. I'm a big proponent of if I get there before light, then nobody else is gonna be there. But yeah, definitely. Just depends. In the fall for sure. Have any of you been to Grand Falls on the Dead? Yeah, okay. So same kind of idea, right? This can be really, really good if you hit it right. I guided a guy in late September or early October this fall, and it just nothing aligned. We had a wicked cold front and it was warm, and then it was really cold for 2 days and it rained a little bit and the barometric pressure was a little off and we did not do well. It was not a good day at Grand Falls, but it was still beautiful. And the client I took still had a great time. He actually was a guy who has fished all over the world, and he told me it was one of the prettiest places he'd ever fished, which was encouraging for me as a guide. Yeah,
That's a pretty good place in spring.
yes, better in the
Better
spring.
in spring.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, 100%. But I mean, that's just, where else can you fish? And there's just a majestic waterfall right next to you, right? There's a few places, but that's pretty cool. Oh, right. You guys probably know this. The Dead and the Kennebec meet, right? That's why it's called the Forks.
You ever fish above the dam?
Going towards East Outlet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about EO just because everybody's kind of been East Outlet. I love East Outlet. I've caught some awesome fish at East Outlet. It's all people talk about, in my opinion. Like, but yeah, of course, Indian Pond too can be an awesome smallmouth. Like,
No, above Grand Falls.
oh no, I haven't. Towards Flagstaff.
Yeah.
I was looking on the map at that this fall. I haven't.
There is a set of crib works up above it.
Okay.
And I picked up rainbows up in there.
I'm gonna mental note that. That's
It's a neat spot up there.
Yeah.
And it turns flat, you know, till.
Right.
And there's no pressure.
Not much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also back there, yeah, Spencer Spring coming there too, the Dead.
Yeah.
Yes.
That-
Yeah.
That'd be very good.
Yeah. I've not fished. I've heard from, as I go on this journey of fishing, I'm realizing like there's only so many places I can fish because I want to fish everywhere. You guys, they were talking about the McGalloway at dinner, and I've been to Rangeley, and I've mostly skied over there. I've explored a little bit, but it's almost like I'm saving the McGalloway for later on. So yeah, so farther down, right, the Forks, and below to Wyman Lake, where that starts, can be awesome. There's a section I float from the Crusher Pool to, which if you raft, you might know what the Crusher Pool is, yeah. Or if you fish, you might just know. To the graveyard. I don't know if it's well known as the graveyard to a lot of people, but the guides up there, I don't know, that's what they call it. That section can be awesome. There are some really cool seams there. You kind of have to time it right. It's usually a morning fish. You can do it in half. It's only 3.8 miles, 4 miles or so. You do it before they start to pump the water out pretty heavy. But yeah, this is a trout we caught this September. It wasn't huge, but I mean, I just love native trout so much. It's such a beautiful fish, and that my brother-in-law caught that. He had never caught a native trout before. That was his first one. I was like, dude, that's a pretty good first native trout. A lot of people would. Yeah. Yeah, that's just a cool picture. That's the raft and kind of looking downriver. Some more fish that was in that same stretch. Not quite as big as that other one. Here's another one. That was a nice fat fish. Little landlocked. So yeah, moving farther south. Wyman Dam. Anybody fished Wyman? Yeah. So well, this is a place very near and dear to my heart. My dad grew up in Bingham. He went to Valley. So this is kind of one of the first places he started to take me when I was a little kid. And we still go together. Actually, we went a couple weeks ago, which was cool. Full circle. This is just a cool picture of the dam in the morning. If you haven't been to Wyman, again, it's a pretty outstanding architectural feat. It's just so crazy. You think about this giant lake on the other side of it. And I've often been fishing below it and been like, wow, if something went wrong, I would be so done for immediately. Right. So that's why, I mean, they have these buoys, right? They didn't have those up last year. I don't know why. I don't know if they forgot, but fishing is pretty good up pretty close. Have to be careful, but I wouldn't recommend it. It's a little sketchy. But this fall. This is looking downriver. It was a beautiful morning. Same spot right here. If you haven't been to Wyman in a while, this was last year. This whole bank right here, which you can drive to. There's a spot you can drive down. You can walk down and fish. They actually redid this whole side. It's all brand new, like shale rock. I liked it better the other way. I don't know why they did that. Probably Brookfield's wanting us to not fish there. I don't know. But you know, Wyman is not one of the dams they bought. Yeah, some Wyman salmon mostly. This is a beautiful salmon my dad got. It was a wicked nice fish. Kind of like that other one. Same length, size region. That's about as good as a salmon as you'll get. This is a little wild rainbow, which I wanted to talk a little bit about that. So that stretch from Wyman to Solon is probably, I don't want to say this with certainty, but I can because I fished a lot. It's the best wild rainbow stretch in the state. If you want to go and you want to try and catch a big rainbow, this is the stretch. This is where the state record rainbow is caught in the stretch.
No, that was on vinyl.
I don't know. I was talking to a guy a couple weeks ago.
There was one caught out there in a quarry,
This year?
4 or 5 years ago, 13 pounds or something.
Wow, that's big. That's crazy.
But somebody put it there, obviously.
That's anyway, this is so catching wild rainbows is just kind of awesome. For if you're a Mainer, we're really used to the brook trout. And for whatever reason, they stock splake everywhere. I like catching splake. I don't really understand the sentiment behind putting them everywhere. But knowing that there are wild rainbows reproducing out there is very cool to me. If you fished out west, and I think a lot of us have, it's kind of like, okay, this is every river, every cast, every spot they should be, they're there, is what I found out west. Not like that here. Hold on, one more thing about this. So this stretch between Wyman and Solon, best spot for rainbows, great spot for brook trout. There are splake, there's a lot of salmon. Last thing I'll say about it is for rainbows in particular, it is a pretty technical section. There's Austin Stream. A lot of people know Austin Stream. You can drive, you can kind of walk out, and any time of year you walk to Austin Stream, there's guys waiting, fishing, because it's an awesome seam. But farther down, there's the Cool Farm. I don't know if everybody knows that, but it's kind of what we call it. Me and some of my friends, bunch of farm land fields, and there's some islands where the Kennebec comes together, and it's pretty good. It can be very, very good. The fall is weird. I actually was really pumped to fish it this fall because it was my first fall with my fly craft. And I did pretty well. A lot of these pictures are from this year, but not nearly as well as I thought I was gonna do. I think that the spring is just a lot better in that stretch, as far as if you want to go and catch a bunch of fish in a float. That is a float that I do know pretty well. All of these sections, obviously, I know well, but as far as knowing where to cast and kind of how to fish it, this is one spot that is pretty close to my heart. We'll move on a little bit. Yeah, so it's farther south, right? I'm skipping from Solon to Shawmut. That whole section from Solon, from the Evergreens, right, where they do trout unlimited camp, actually is awesome brown trout fishing. That there's a stretch there. There's some rips. If people know where the petroglyphs are on the Native American rock, that whole stretch is really cool. But I don't know it super well. I haven't fished a lot, so I'm gonna skip over that section. Shawmut Dam to Fairfield, super small section. I call it Smalley Alley. Some people give smallmouth a lot of hate. That's okay. I understand. This is, the forgotten brown trout fishery. I mentioned it earlier, but I wasn't alive when it was really good. I wish I had been, but apparently it was a world-class brown trout fishery. I don't know. I never got to experience it. However, there have been whisperings that it might be coming back a little bit, and I don't know why that is. They did a whole study on it, biologists. There's like a 20-page study. You can read it if you go to ifnw.com. And I'm being a little facetious, but the summary was basically they were like, we don't really know. It's kind of what they said. They kind of said we checked out all these different things, water temps and food and waste, and Sappy's right there. Maybe Sappy polluted and they kind of found that that wasn't it, and they don't really know why the brown trout fishery went away. I think it was probably a combination of all those things. I don't know, but this section, this was last year. Ooh, I should have photoshopped out the squirmy wormy, right? No, this is my friend Paul. But these were all this past spring. This was in April. It was very early, and I wasn't there for the really good brown trout fishing before it got bad. But I did pretty well there this spring. and right at the dam on the Fairfield side. I know that there's that pool, what's it called, the pasture pool, which is farther down, which I think had some local fame. But I was pretty stoked to go down there in April and catch these browns. So whether or not it's coming back the way it used to be, I have no idea. Maybe once they take the dam out, it'll get even better. But if you are feeling the itch to go after some potentially pretty big browns, same thing as I said about the salmon, right? I mean, that was a 20-inch brown. There are huge, massive browns in Maine, but come on, like that, if we were in Colorado, that would be a good fish. You know, it'd be a good fish anywhere you go, really, except for maybe Patagonia, but we're not there, we're in Maine. So if you have the itch to go fish in April, Shawmut Dam can be pretty good still, if you want to go catch some browns. And then just, I kind of mentioned it, but Smallmouth Alley, won't talk about it a lot. That stretch from the dam at Shawmut to Fairfield, right in town, there's a boat launch, is insane for smallmouth. You can go down there and float that 3 miles or whatever and catch 50 fish. And if that's not your thing, totally understand, but just a little side plug, if it's June, July, and you want to go catch a bunch of fish, they're awesome, you know?
And what kind of average size?
Smallmouth in that stretch, not very big. The biggest I caught was probably like 15. Yeah, which is, I don't know why, probably because there's so many of them. I'm sure there are some tanks hanging around, but yeah, that pasture pool area is pretty phenomenal. So moving a little farther south, right? This is where I get really excited. This is my jam. This is my hometown. This is where I've probably done the most fishing, and it's what I know the best. So bear with me if I'm a little bit like, you guys got to know about this because it's so awesome. Right, Waterville, here's the old Hathaway building, which is now apartments. This is one of the dams that they'll be taking out. Super hard for me to visualize that because I've always known it. It's going to be really weird for me. I'll have to relearn the river pretty much, probably. But I'm excited. It's a good thing. This is Taconic Falls, right? I don't know what exactly this will look like when they take a dam out. I don't know. I don't really know. I think it'll look different, but also not. We'll have to see. Right here, this is what the Hathaway building, like I said, or sorry, the Lockwood Hathaway. There's this little island right here. There's the side discharge wash. There's these gates right here, right? For stripers and shad, and this section of the river, it just does not get better. It just doesn't. And I'll show you in a second, right? So these these are all of the fish that you're about to see are all right in Waterville, which is so interesting. I think I talk about this sometimes to people. You guys are coastal folks, so right, like Patrick and I have talked a lot, right? He took me out to Alice Head. It was really awesome, and the prospect of sight casting to a striper on a mudflat is really awesome. It's the closest thing we get to bonefish, which is, I'm going to table that for a second because that's over here. This fishing on the river is totally different. And the way that you're fishing for these stripers isn't what, obviously you're not using a green crab. You're not trying to not spook them. It's more like there are waves and waves and waves of herring coming in, and by the millions. And when these herring waves come in, there are stripers with them. I'm going to pause for a second and say that this past year, I think across the state, for people who striper fish, was not as good of a year, which is unfortunate. And they just did the YOY Young of the Year report in the Chesapeake, and it's going to be another below average year, which really sad. I think it was actually a little higher than it was last year, the Young of the Year, which is crazy to me because it's still so low. So we'll see. We'll see what next year will be like. It's hard to say. I did pretty well last year, I would say, on a sort of a side note for fishing. I had a lot of friends. You kind of start to get to know all the guys that are down there that fish that area, and nobody I talked to had that great of a year. But these stripers are coming up from Bath to the Kennebec so fast, chasing these bait. So we'll catch them a lot of times, and we'll find the sea lice on them, right? And you can kind of, if you fish for stripers a lot, you can kind of tell like Ocean stripers are almost like more clear. They're like whiter. If they've been in the river for a while, they get darker. Their black stripes get a little darker. They get a little more, I think, muddied, but I don't know why. Maybe it's just because they're not used to the fresh water. They're more used to brackish and salt. I don't know what the scientific reason is, but when they're really fresh, they still have the lice on them, and they still have that sort of red in their gills. I don't know what that's from, but you can kind of see it on this fish. This fish was super fresh. So this day, this is the same day, obviously I'm in the same outfit, right? I was with my friend Matt. I think he's in the next slide too. Yeah. So this is Matt. He was that day as well. We fished, we got there at probably 4:30. We were there first light, and I think we caught 1 or 2 fish in a seam that we knew because we fish a lot. So we knew kind of where they would be. Caught a couple fish, and that was it until like 1 p.m. And we were pretty discouraged. Didn't even have a follow, like nothing. And all of a sudden, we started to see some more blueback herring start to move in, some different schools. And it was like a switch went off and the river was just like busting with stripers. And it was awesome fishing. So it was worth it. But that kind of, I make that point to just say, fishing the river, you have to bide your time a little bit and be patient. I look at the weather a lot in May and June. I look at the pressure a lot. I look at the tides a lot because I think the tides do affect the stripers in Waterville, even though they're not affecting the river level necessarily. It is affecting whether they're coming in. And there are some days when I just don't go because I have gotten it dialed in enough where I know it's not worth my time getting up at 4 a.m. and getting out there. We'll move on. Yeah, this is just more fish from that area. Matt, Matt, my friend Matt's, he's 6'4", he's a big guy. That's a nice fish. It's kind of hard to tell when you're there, but that fish right there, this is a couple years ago. I worked so hard for that fish. I fished all day and I caught, I think, like 1 schoolie, and finally evening kind of hit and I got into a decent one. So that was why I look so happy in that picture. Yeah, I just more nice fish. These are my 2 favorites from this past season. Again, I worked hard for them, but this is actually, so I don't want to give away all my spots.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I'm on the spot. You said you don't use crab flies. What flies do you use?
Moving on. No, I'm just kidding. No, right. So yeah, that's a great question. Thank you for asking that. Love a Clouser. I don't know if this is a saying everywhere or just on the Kennebec, but I heard an old guy say one time, if it ain't chartreuse, it's of no use.
Yeah.
So chartreuse and white Clouser, 1/0 is pretty good. I like deceivers a lot. For whatever reason, I think that they like how deceivers present a little better than Clousers. Honestly though, when they are busting bait, it doesn't matter. You could like put a hook in a Budweiser can and probably throw it out there and they would just blow up on it. But yeah, deceivers, Clousers. I like I don't know what it's called. It's like a tarpon toad with one of those dragon tail. I tied a bunch. Yeah, it's kind of a tarpon fly, but I just tied it a little bit bigger and varied it in size a little bit and varied the tail length. I have found that in low light is pretty successful. And just as a general rule, I don't know if I could say this for all fishing, but for what I've done on the Kennebec, bright days, I use pretty much all bright flies, white, chartreuse. I like red. I'll put some red in. I love putting peacock curls on streamers. It's kind of I think an addiction. I just do it on the back. I don't know. And when it's dark, cloudy days, darker streamers. Yeah. There's a streamer my friend Matt ties. I don't even think he's called it anything, but it's basically just a bunch of flash and a bunch of bucktail. It's like a deceiver, but without the hackle feathers. Because I think for deceivers, you can actually use them as squid too, which obviously I'm not doing that here. But yeah, does that answer your question?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, and topwater. Bob's Bangers. Pretty fun. Yeah. Anybody use Bob's Bingers? You guys know what that is? Yeah, they're like a big, I don't have any pictures. They're a big popper, but the front, the floating part can pop off and you can change colors, which is kind of cool. It doesn't affect the integrity of the fly at all. It's kind of nice to mix up. If you have like white bucktail on the back, you can mix it with red, take off the red, put chartreuse on, whatever. Yeah, so this is not me. I wish it was me. I really wished it was me because I was down there that day, but it wasn't me. This is a gentleman, I won't say his name, I do know, I don't know him well, but like I said, you kind of get to know who's down there. I know right where he was. It was actually, I don't even have, it's not a secret. It was right below where that building I showed you guys. I'll just leave that there. So he caught this fish, and then the next day caught a 49-inch in the same area. And I share this just to put in your guys' brains like the magnitude and the quality of fish that are going from Bath to Waterville. And with the dams out, the fish are probably going to go to Skowhegan, which is wild to think about. But the possibilities that are about to hit Maine are pretty cool. For fish in a world-class striper, and it was caught 5 minutes from my apartment, which is nuts, right? Yeah, it's just an admirable fish, right? That guy, I will say this too, right? I have a lot of friends who don't fish as much or who want to get into fishing, but they don't, I don't know, they don't know where to start, or they don't, it's not their thing, right? This is my thing, and this is probably your guys' thing too. This guy is on the water in the spring, May and June, pretty much every day. He's retired, but I see him. I see him out there because whenever I'm out there, he's out there too. I know his boat. I know what his boat looks like. So it's time on the water, I think is what I'm getting at. Like you can't catch a fish like that if you're not out there. And some of us, including myself, have full-time jobs. Like we can't, and totally respectable, right? But you're never gonna catch the giant if you're not there. Okay, this is who fishes for shad? Anybody? Okay, right off the bat, if you don't fish for shad, you are missing out so much. Okay, these fish, every single one of them. I don't know why my dad's holding the fish like that. I was putting the pictures in like that, and I was like, Dad, just hold it like this. But he's old school. He's like, oh, it's fine. To be fair, it did swim away fine. But I was like, Dad, don't hold it by its jaw. That's my wife. Even she got on some shad. Every single shad you catch is anywhere from small would be 18. That would be pretty small. Big, I don't know if I put the picture in here of my big shad, but it was about 26, 20, well, sorry, 25. I didn't have a tape. My net has I have my things marked out. And it is, so that first picture, Terry, of Mike, right? So I brought Mike and Dave, the guys who own Upland Guide, which Terry knows them, or knows Mike pretty well. They're upland bird guys. They don't fish as much as I do, but they wanted to kind of see, because I was telling them about shad, and they were like, yeah, let's get together. We got in the boat, we went out, and within 10 minutes, they were doubled up, right, on these shad. And I'll never forget, Mike was like, Sawyer, this is like, what? This is the hardest fighting fish I've ever felt. My wrist hurts. So if you haven't done it with a 5 or a 6 weight, I'm telling you, like, get in touch with me. I can point you in directions. I'd gladly take you. It is the most fun you will have on a 5 weight. It is just awesome. They're called the poor man's salmon or the poor man's tarpon. They jump, they fight. You'll lose them, but then you'll hook into another one. And if they're there, they're there. And that's kind of the nice thing about shad. If they're on, they're on. They come up in schools. You can see them flashing. They're really, that's not the big one. Why didn't I put the big one in the slideshow? I don't know why I did that. But they're kind of a pretty fish. You can see they have like not a great picture. The picture doesn't do it justice, but they have kind of a rainbow sheen. They're really pretty. And yeah, that's Dave. That's the other upland bird guy. Tons of fun. And like I said, if you know what you're doing, they're pretty easy. Shad darts, like some people have seen those in stores. Guys spin cast for them. I don't, just because I prefer on a fly rod. But if you're a spin guy, like they're awesome on a spin rod too. And the flies are so easy to tie. Just grab the brightest chartreuse thread you have, whatever's in your ear, and just like rip it on there and put some really bright chartreuse dubbing on or a wrap, smack some eyes on it, put some Dumbo eyes on it, and that's it. It's like whatever. Yeah.
They jump like tarpon.
They jump like crazy. Yeah. I mean, tarpon are right, they're kind of in a league of their own. But for a fish that's 20 inches on a 5 weight, yeah, like yeah.
Catch a big female. A hen. To jump like.
Right.
They'll clear the water.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
4 or 5 feet above.
And they'll do the thing and they kind of run across the top. The other thing I'll say, I should have said this about stripers too, but I'll say it about shad as well. Remember, you're on the river and the fish know, and they get in the current. And I don't know how many stripers I've lost because you can't compete with the power of the striper plus the flow, right? So sometimes I remember when I first kind of got my 9 weight and was getting into, because I had striper fished. And I'm not ashamed to admit, I still will spin sometimes for them because there's just certain spots you just can't fly fish for them, whether it's at night, whatever. But I was getting into the fly rod with them, and Matt, my friend who I've had on here a couple times, he's quite a fisherman and he's quite a fly tire, and he's taught me a lot. And I was like, Matt, so we were fishing this area that was, there's a couple holes when there's a bunch of rocks and there's some rapids, whatever. And I was like, how am I gonna land this fish? Because there's rapids right there. And he was like, just hold on. And so I did. You have to, you set and you have to run down the bank holding your rod like this so that this fish doesn't get tangled up. It's pretty gnarly. So these fish, like a couple of guys of shadfish, they're so strong, and you don't even understand why or how, but they are. I think it's just ocean fish are just different. But man, like I cannot stress enough, if you haven't fished for shad on a fly rod, do it this spring because they're in huge quantities and they're so fun. Just really, so now we're gonna get into this is the last section. This is about the Sebasticook. Sebasticook River runs out of Sebasticook Lake in Newport, right? If you've gone up to Moosehead, you've gone through Newport, right? It's that lake. I'm talking the section from Benton Falls to Fort Halifax and Winslow. I know that stretch of that river like the back of my hand. I know it very, very, very well. And from the dam to the river is, well, sorry, I'll do the history part first. Sebasticook in Native American Penobscot Abnaki language meant almost through place. So it was a trade and travel route paramount to the native population. It was a water highway, essentially. There are still, it allowed them to basically skip the Kennebec for a certain portion of it. There are still weirs on the Sebasticook that you can see, which is pretty cool, because the herrings, the alewives and the blueback, that's what this is all about, right? That's why the stripers are in water. They are chasing the herring. Have been here for thousands and thousands of years, long before European settlement. Right, even the shell midden and Damascata, they know because they've done dating that herring have been coming into Maine for a really, really, really long time. Has anybody read Founding Fish about American shad? It's a good book. It's basically, I'll summarize it by saying it's about shad and the role that they played in American foundation, basically. So people do find Native American artifacts on the Sebasticook. Pretty cool. I haven't looked for them for a couple reasons. One, I don't know, I think it's better to let history lie, but also I would just rather be fishing. Bluebacks versus bluebacks versus alewives. They're both river herring. So when you hear biologists or somebody talk about river herring, this is what they're talking about, but there are two different fish. Super similar. I always am able to tell because blueback are a little smaller and they don't have this belly. That is, I mean, I have fished a lot in the last 5 years, so I'm able to see usually. Also, when they're in the water, blueback just look a little different. I don't know how to, if I can put it into words. I think they have a little bit of a different sheen to them when the sun hits. Also though, alewives always come first. So, or at least, I don't know if that's true across the state, but where I am in Waterville, we always see alewives first. There's a commercial harvesting operation at Benton Falls. And those guys are taking thousands of pounds of alewives every year. You know, it's crazy. This is the Sebasticook. So I don't need to say much, but this is what it looks like in the spring. And you know why the stripers are there, right? I'll say just because the alewives are there, just because the herring is there, doesn't mean there's a ton of stripers with them. But it does mean there's probably some, and if there's not, there will be soon. Depends on the year, as all striper fishermen know. Yeah, last year was not a good year. We all know that. But you'll always have some hanging around. Some years, if there's that, like you guys already know, if there's that many herring, there's stripers. Sturgeon too, for those of us who have fished in Augusta and been on the Kennebec in the spring, seeing the sturgeon breach is just a remarkable thing. Feat of nature. It's just amazing. When you're down there in the spring and you're fishing for shad and stripers, as often as I am, I see sturgeon every time I go. Every time, with multiple sturgeon, not just like one here and there. They are everywhere, to the point where I'm often afraid that they are going to jump into my boat one of these times, because a couple times early in the morning when it's still kind of first light and you can't see, one of those sturgeon comes out of the water, and like it's frightening. It is scary because they're huge. I mean, they're 6-7 feet long, and I'm pretty sure, I don't know what would happen if it jumped into my canoe. It might just, I don't know, it might just go down. I'm not sure. The raft, I'd feel a little bit better, but then I'd be nervous that it would just pop the raft. So if you haven't seen these guys, again, highly encourage you, go catch some shad. I'll show you, I'll take you, go catch some stripers. You'll see some sturgeon too, and it's pretty special. It's cool. What'd you say? So funny story. I did not, but I was down on the Winslow side of Taconic Falls. There's an Aroma Joe's, and you can walk down the ledges. Super popular spot for stripers. You'll see some redneck guys, whatever. And it's like, what? I say that, those are my friends. You'll see some guys go down there, and they'll be throwing, like, it's the funniest thing ever, because all they do is throw topwater plugs. And I've talked to them, and been like, guys, like, you know, like, if there's no fish busting, they're probably, and then they'll catch a fish, you know, whatever. But they're always throwing topwater plugs. You can walk down there, and was down there one morning fishing. Guy, no, he's a friend, fishing friend. Kind of went like this, set the hook. It's like, I'm on bottom, started to pull, and his line just started to go like this. And it went like 100 yards downriver, and he had hooked a sturgeon on accident. And he wasn't trying to catch it, he was just trying to break it off, but it wouldn't break. So he ended up kind of fighting it, and it was an experience to behold. Yeah, he didn't catch it. He ended up cutting the line, because you're not supposed to catch them, obviously. But it does happen, 100%. I was waiting last year up against that building, and I was fly fishing. I was kind of going like this, casting, and I looked down in front of me, and there was a 7-foot sturgeon like 2 feet from me. It scared the crap out of me. I jumped back, because they kind of look like, they don't look like sharks, but if you're fishing the Kennebec in Waterville, you're not thinking in your head 6-foot, 7-foot fish. You're thinking smallmouth, whatever. So it's freaky. So yeah, the Sebasticook, I call it smallmouth haven. I'll just say this really quick. Shad, I did my spiel about shad. If you haven't done it, do it. If you are a smallmouth hater, or you're a bass kind of hater in general, and you're a fly fisherman, I would just urge you to just reconsider, because these fish are probably, for what we have, trout, for me, trout and salmon are kind of an aesthetic. They're sort of a different thing for me. Like it's special, it's Maine, it's cool. But as far as fighting fish, on a 4, 5, 6 weight. This, like, I love catching smallmouth. I really do. It's become kind of my thing over the last couple of years. And the Sebasticook from Benton Falls to Winslow is world class. It just is. You can sight fish for them a lot because you can see them kind of cruising. They're everywhere and they're big. This is a cool fish. You can see it has that leopard kind of pattern on the top with the striped cheek. This is my friend, client that day, Val. Again, just kind of that cool leopard print. That's if you fish for smallmouth, you know, like that's a hog, that's a good fish. I've caught a few that were, the nicest was probably like 19, bordering on 20, but I know that there are some trophies in there because I lost one last year in this hole, actually right here where this picture was taken. That's a good fish. So from the front to back of my net is just about 20 inches. That was a good one. I lost a fish that I thought was a striper. That's how big it was. So the striper is like, this is all these pictures are late June, July, August, and you'll catch a bunch of smallmouth. It's wicked fun. But you also know, because the herring were there not long ago, that there are stripers still there hanging around because some will hold over until the fall run. So in my head, I hooked into this fish and I was like, oh, this is sick. I have a striper on, and this smallmouth jumped out of the water. And I'm like, I've caught a lot of smallmouth. I have never seen a smallmouth this big in my life. It was like, it must have been 24, 25. It was huge. And I lost it naturally. But he jumped out of the water. He jumped out of the water and I just wasn't ready. I had no idea what I was in for. That was on a crayfish fly. Why? That's kind of weird. I don't know why I didn't put a picture there. Yeah, just some more fish. This one actually really bit down there. Actually kind of hurt. Wasn't expecting for it, but you can see just some bruisers. This one's eye was all messed up. I was like, don't know what happened to her, but these are some spastic stripers. Just to give another little plug to striper fishing. This was like a month ago. This was on the fall run. That's my friend Matt. Again, he's a big guy, 6'4". He's a football player. That's a nice fish, right? I mean, I've got a couple. She was pretty stoked about that. I took her down. She was like, so like, she doesn't fish, you know, she's, how will I know if I get a bite? I was like, yeah, you'll know if you get a bite. Some miscellaneous fish. I'm wrapping up here. Caught my first bone on our honeymoon. It's probably like the best day of my life other than my wedding. Don't tell my wife I said that. In the same day, I got to fight a tarpon too, which was like me. I was just like, I lost him, but I did get to fight him.
Where'd you go?
Grand Cayman. Yeah. This is kind of a real quick plug about pike. If you haven't done it on a fly, has anybody done it? Has anybody gone after pike on a fly? It is awesome. The take is unreal. This is a cool pike. I think that this pike must have bred with a pickerel. I don't know. I've never seen a pike that color, that green before, so I could be wrong, but that was a good one. This is a monster. That thing was like, I caught him, she was full of eggs, so I should say her. I caught her early season last year. You can see my face. I was just like, oh my God. Because that was like a 38, 39 inch. I mean, I'm 6 foot. I'm a fairly big guy. I could not pick that fish up. And I tried. Like I was trying to figure out, because you're supposed to, you know, grab behind the head, but I was like, I don't want to, like, how do I do this? So I kind of hoisted her up, and that was on a chartreuse and white clouser. They were not touching anything. They would not even look at my flies. And I finally pissed her off enough that she just like went like that and hit me. And yeah, that was awesome. That was in Belgrade. Yeah, right in town, actually.
Kill those fish,
Do I?
kill them, yeah, the pike,
Do I kill them?
yeah.
No, I don't kill them. No.
You eat them?
No, but some people do. Who said that? Yeah, I guess they're really good. I've heard that. Yeah. Okay.
Muskies are.
muskies are.
Muskies are almost like.
Another thing I want to do in Maine, go up north and fish for muskies. I'm almost done here, guys, but some rainbows. This was also in Belgrade. If you haven't caught any fish this fall and you're itching to catch some fish, talk to me after. I'll point you in the right direction. I caught 10 this morning. So. Oh, are these the videos, Doug?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, how do I do this?
Just hit the next button.
Okay, so this is the Kennebec between Bingham and Solon. It's not great quality, but you guys can kind of see just a really pretty stretch of river. If you haven't floated it, I recommend it. It's pretty special, beautiful. This is me fighting a shad over here. You can kind of, again, video quality is not great. I was by myself, so I was trying to figure out how I was going to set the phone up and also make sure it was a good angle. But you can see how hard they fight kind of based on the video. This is the Sebasticook smallmouth haven, which I was talking about. I took a guy down. It's just a really beautiful river. Lots of eagles. We counted, there were 9 in one group one day, which is cool. They were all 9 eagles all together in a tree. They're there for the herring too. Obviously, that's why they're there. And then, oh, these are those trout in the Allagash. Kind of a cool video, seeing them all stacked up there. I think I zoom in a second. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you can see them a little better there. Nothing huge, right? Probably 10 inches was the biggest one, but yeah, Maine is an amazing place. We all know that. Regarding fishing the rivers I just talked about, though, especially the lower Kennebec and the Sebasticook and the upper, but it's different. It's super diverse. There are not a lot of places that I've fished out west. I've fished in Grand Cayman. I've fished a lot of places. Maine is awesome. We have a ton of diversity. You can go catch a 40-inch striper on the coast and go catch a rainbow in the same day, right? That's a cool place. You cannot do that in Montana. Eventually, all things merge into one, and a river runs through it. The river was cut by the world's great flood and runs over rocks from the basement of time. On some of the rocks are timeless raindrops. Under the rocks are the words, and some of the words are theirs. I am haunted by waters. I really am. I think I have this weird curse on my life that I'll always have to fish and be on a river. This is probably one of my favorite books for certain. If you haven't read the book and you've only seen the movie, I would highly recommend reading the book. Thank you so much for having me. I feel like I had to talk a little fast there at the end. I know we're on a time crunch, but this is a really awesome opportunity for me. And I hope you guys got something cool out of it. And if you have questions, please don't be afraid to reach out, whether it's about flies or whatever. I have a few business cards. Yeah. I realized I have 10, so I'll leave them here and you guys can share them and take pictures.
Say one for me.
Okay. Thank you guys. Thank you so much.
That was fabulous.
You want to do questions if anybody has them?
Sawyer? Okay, we got a bunch of auction reference prices, rather. Terry, you have
But no, I haven't done.
Kristen, you wanna pick the tickets today? Yep. Last chance for tickets. Where's the hat? Where's it? There's a hat back there. Let's use that one, Christie.
Here's one.
Oh, wait, all right. Well, nobody can use it. That's a prize. He's done. Okay. We got that.
I haven't mixed things up at all.
Here.
We can do that. There's a hat from the TU National meeting in Portland some years ago. There's some books, some magazines, some flies, and there's 2 rods there. One's they were both donations from a friend of mine. One is an old Berkeley 8-weight fiberglass rod. Sounds weird, but a lot of people like that for, especially back